Morning everyone, I'm Daisuke from Pixologic. Let's start sculpting today. Can you hear me fine, I guess? The stream looks fine. Let me know if you have any issues. All good. Everything sounds fine. Audio levels fine. Thanks. Hey, what's up, everyone? I just recovered from well, last week my stream wasn't there because I had to go to take some vaccine shots, and the second one I took was Moderna. So I've got really affected by that vaccine and had a bit of a fever. So that's what I had to deal with. But this week I'm totally fine. And also the ZBrush Summit is coming up. So if you guys aren't aware, we have the ZBrush Summit coming up on next week. So if you go to ZBrush Summit webpage, you can see that we have a lot of presenters, a lot of events coming up on the 23rd. And also the Sculpt-Off. You can participate in the Sculpt-Off, and if you go to the Sculpt-Off page, you can apply, so you can join into the event, and then by participating you can get some prizes. Also you can get a free version of, well, you can get a Toolbox 2.0 from XMD for free if you participate in the event, and you can use all these stuff like ZBrush, ZBrush Core, ZBrush Core Mini, ZBrush trial version, and well, you need to do it on stream, but yeah, you can do all those kind of stuff. And be aware that there's a contest rule, so before you actually do the Sculpt-Off, we recommend you go through the contest rules and set up the stream properly and do some test streaming if possible. And that's pretty much it for the Sculpt-Off. If you have any questions related to the stream rules, let me know. I registered for the Sculpt-Off, but not sure I'll finish something nice. Well, give it a shot. Yeah, like we had people on Discord as well asking, am I qualified, or is my sculpt efficient enough, or something like that. And I usually tell them the point of the event is like participating. It's not really judging by quality. Well, if you're seeking for a winner, yes, that's the quality point, but usually for the users or for an average Joe, I think participating or like making something that's worth 3 hours, then I think most of the people would seek that point. Like people can just have fun, to be honest. The prize is extra. So from the last stream I did some sculpting on the skirts, and I capped off the bottom part, and I want to do the same for the other parts, because capping off these cloth usually makes the cloth sculpting process easier, and it's easy to see if it has enough mass, enough folds as well. Hi, welcome. So this is what I'm gonna do this week, or this stream. and I'll adjust or add a bit more quality to it. And currently I just deleted the subdivision levels so I can cap this off. So if I cap it off, I'll get something like this, which I want. And I would just like tweak this a bit. So currently it's penetrating the cloth like this because it has this kind of like arch shape, and it doesn't really go well with the capping. So what I would do is I would just isolate the closed holes and apply a separate group, and then after that I usually just move this around a bit so it doesn't penetrate, and if it's still penetrating I just need to adjust this area. And usually what I would do is I just use snake hook, adjust it a bit, something like this, and it's usually fine. Also, you can make it flat as well by using additional brushes or smooth techniques. You can use backface masking as well as snake hook to adjust these areas. Should be fine. What was your experience for the Wonder Festival? It was last weekend, right? Yes, it was the last weekend, and I was personally participating in the event of Wonder Festival. And to be honest, the online event is really different compared to the traditional Wonder Festival, because you're not gonna actually show your physical sculpts, physical like garage kits at the end, and like it feels a bit lackluster, to be honest. You don't really meet and greet with the participants. You don't get to talk to the person who's sitting next to you and those kind of stuff. Yeah, it's a bit different. And what the dealers had to deal with was they had to like fill in the Excel sheets of what the kits were sold, and we had to like track all the people who bought the garage kits to give out their address to me or to my partner so we can send the garage kits, and those kind of like stuff is very tedious and should be automated, but that's my personal opinion. Yeah, so like the event itself was fun, but at the same time I wasn't able to have time to actually look around the other people's works, and I only got to like talk with the people who are buying my garage kits, and it's a bit of a shame, to be honest. So it was very busy for me, and like it should have been automated so I would be able to spend more time looking around and buying a garage kit if possible, but usually the popular garage kits are like sold out in like first 10 minutes. Mine was sold out closely in an hour or so, so pretty yeah, it's pretty busy as an event. So the first hour also is the most important part of the event, and others are just like waiting for the event or waiting for the customers to come in, and you don't really have any like reason to stay around after you sold the kit, and I feel that's a bit of a shame. So yeah, like I'm not really a fan of online garage kit events, because you can get the kits, but you can't really do like additional activities after that. There's no streaming, there's no events, there's no competitions, there's no talk shows, there's no additional things around it. So you just buy the garage kits and that's it. I guess most of the people who are watching doesn't really have any idea what I'm talking about. It's a Wonder Festival is a garage kit where a event happens in Japan. You can buy garage kits from a sculptor, and you can buy some things like fan arts that are approved by the official license holders. And last week we had a online event of that Wonder Festival, but it was the first time we had a online event. So there was a couple of issues. There was no automations. There was no simple solution to like get the garage kits. So there was a lot of like issues related to the event, and as a participant, I had a couple of opinions around it. So, ooh, earthquake. Also, Japan is having a lot of earthquakes recently. Last week, before I think it was Friday, we had a big earthquake around Tokyo. I think I think a couple of people who are familiar with people who are living in Japan would like see a couple of reactions related to the earthquake and so on. Hello, welcome. In Japan, like, we are so used to the earthquake, like, we're not really surprised if the earth shakes. But like, if a foreigner usually lives in like comes living in Japan, if they are like struck with an earthquake, usually their first time experience is really rough. It's usually fun to just hear their reactions, like, oh, it's shaking, oh. But yeah, like, so it sometimes gets serious. That's the issue. Like, you're gonna have a big earthquake in couple of years, and then you're surprised why people are not ready, or people are not preparing for the earthquake, or and so on. But yeah, we had a couple of like big earthquakes recently, so I think a couple of people are being ready for a big earthquake to happen. I myself bought a couple of emergency foods, like instant food related stuff. Oh, also, related to the ZBrush version, we have a ZBrush trial for 2021.5.1. So if you haven't tried ZBrush, or if you tried ZBrush in the past, and if you want to use a recent version, you can try that as well. You can go to this page and try out the new features. If you go to the new features page, there will be a summary of what kind of features you can expect, and you can buy ZBrush if you like it as well. Also, as Nightbot mentioned, there is a ZBrush official Discord if you haven't joined. And if you have any questions related to the ZBrush events, you can ask me there as well. If you have any additional questions related to the stream, you can catch me there as well. So I'd recommend you join. Will there be ZBrush updates for the summit? Well, you have to wait and see. Like, we don't really talk about future development stuff. But if you go to the presentation page, there is a ZBrush presentation. So, what do you expect? Well, yeah, like, it's suspicious. So you're telling me that Pixologic has been working on a update for this year? For the summit? No, that can't be, right? Are you participating in the Sculpt off? No, I'll be I'll be in the comment section, but yeah. If I join the Sculpt off, I'll win 100%. So no, that's not fair. Well, for the Sculpt off, we have additional Sculpt off participants. Like, for example, we have the usual ZBrush live streamers who will be joining as the what do you call those, guests, I guess. don't know why, but this character I'm currently making reminds me of a character from Melty Blood or Tsukihime. I just guess it's the hair color is just blue. But I've been just watching a couple of like Melty Blood games really recently, so giving me off that vibes, I guess. When you're making original characters like this, it's really important to distance yourself from those kind of like familiar characters you're familiar with, and like if it's too close, then obviously other people will point out that's pretty close to something else. And for example, I made a Mekamusume character, the red suit, blonde hair character I made, and that was pretty close to Asuka from Evangelion. So somebody else pointed that out, but I didn't really had that in mind. So yeah, it was very weird. But those kind of like stuff happen, so I just need to keep aware that I'm not really targeting that specific character or something like that. Yeah, but yeah, you have the same kind of like colors, you have the concept colors, but the character doesn't look the same. So I think it was fine, but some people don't see that way, so just keep that in mind. Oh, talking about like original characters, this year's Sculpt Off's theme is reimagine. So you gotta reimagine a character from like your favorite franchise or like favorite design, and then you need to reimagine what kind of like characters or what kind of like design you would have for that specific character. So in the theme text, it was explaining a Santa Claus. So as you might know, Santa Claus was not really designed as a red suit with white beard with a round glasses kind of like dude. That was reimagined by Coca-Cola's advertising team. So those kind of like reimagining its folklore, reimagining the tale, reimagining the design is really powerful in that way. So if it sticks, then those kind of like redesigns are really successful. So this year's sculpting theme is reimagine. I don't know what I would sculpt if I was a participant in the Sculpt Off. I do have a favorite character in mind, but I don't know if I would like to redesign that specific character. So yeah, takes me a while to think about it. Hmm. I don't know honestly how the judge would see it, but like for me personally, if I see a famous character, like for example, Hulk or Batman or Spider-Man reimagined, usually like, but I think a lot of people are going to do that. So you're gonna have a lot of like competitors who are gonna think about those kind of like characters in the same kind of like light. So unless that's really unique, unless that's really fitting, um, I think it's better to avoid those kind of like popular stuff. But at the same time, popular kind of stuff that like people are familiar with the background stories are kind of like important in a way, but at the same time, if everybody knows, everybody's familiar, everybody's gonna try to do that, it's very gonna get really competitive. Hard to say. If I was a pro, I'd probably reimagine Michelangelo using ZBrush or any Renaissance artist. Oh, yeah, that's nice. Yeah, reimagining a like actual person or like a historical person could be interesting. You also have to show some. You also have to somehow appeal to the judges' taste too. Well, usually I don't know. Like I don't think the judges are really um, specific to their taste. Usually, what I see is that the judges are really um, open-minded in their way, but they are looking for quality. They are looking for uniqueness. Especially this time, it's more ideas or sculpting quality could both exist in one sculpt. So I think that's a bit interesting. My character is not really a character, but an idea in character. Hmm. Well, you don't need you guys don't need to spoil it for me. I'm I'll be watching, so I'll be watching the event. So give me a surprise. Like you don't need to talk the ideas now. Hmm. I was thinking what kind of like hairstyle could fit here nicely. I was thinking I should add some tails on the back. Hey Daisuke, hello. Hey Ian. Welcome. Oh, Ian's gonna be on the Sculpt off as well as a ZBrush Live participant. So I'm very excited to see your work. The pressure is on. Oh, Ian just reminded me that I need to watch Demon Slayers. Like, Ian is making a Demon Slayer character on ZBrush Live, and I honestly, I know the story, I know the background stories, I know the characters, but I haven't watched Demon Slayers. And my friend was like ranting to me, like, why haven't you watched Demon Slayers? Are you Japanese? Are you even Japanese? And he was very mad. So now I'm tasked with watching Demon Slayers from scratch, and I haven't done it. So I'm like, honestly, I'm busy. What can I say? But yeah, I think I have to watch it. Yeah, it's one of those animes that you have to watch to get a grasp. Like, for example, Madoka Magica is one of the animes, and Attack on Titan is another anime that you have to watch. Oh, by the way, Attack on Titan, I'm up to date on the animes. I wasn't up to date till I was suffering from a fever, and I was like lying on the bed and I had nothing to do, so I just watched the entire season of I think 4 seasons, the full up to the final season of Attack on Titan. Ooh, nice. Hey, welcome. How's it so far? Are you from Japan? Yeah, I'm from Japan. I'm Japanese. I'm 100% Japanese, but I speak a bit of English. Enough for me to talk, I guess. Kishimoto Masashi? Kishimoto. Oh, it's the author of Naruto. Okay. Yeah. Just a bit of English, yes. Honestly, like streaming in English is a bit tired. Like, it eats up my energy more than I have to, like, more than I do with like the Japanese streaming, and I have to like do the translation in my mind as well as sculpting. So like I can do like a couple of hours, but I guess like 2 or 3 hours, 4 hours is the max I can do. If I just focus on the sculpting aspect, and if I don't need to talk, I can do 16 hours, just fine. Of course, a bit of like 10-minute breaks and 5-minute breaks, but that's pretty much it. Sculpting was so fun, you know? On the weekends, like, I was just sculpting and was talking to my friends, and I didn't notice I was like doing the sculpt for like 12 hours straight, and my friend was like, I need to get some dinner, and I checked my clock, and like I started that from the morning of 6 a.m. and my friend was like kind of like bored by at that time, and like I was surprised, like I was speaking straight for like 12 hours straight and sculpting. I didn't notice that I skipped lunch, I skipped dinner, I skipped breakfast even. Especially it's very fun if your sculpt is just starting up. The rough shapes are just like starting to get some shapes. It's very fun to get that rough shapes going. After a while, it's tedious. It gets that kind of like boring phase of like nothing is changing, but at the end of the day, you need to do that, or you need to suffer from that. I used to hold 8-hour stream all of last year. Longest I ever streamed was 24 hours with breaks, but I have, yeah, of course, like streaming, talking, like for me, like streaming, I don't usually do talking on my streams unless it's my like ZBrush live streams. I have to talk and explain what I'm doing, but in my personal streams, like I don't really talk that much. Like I just go ahead and sculpt, and like if it's talking to a friend, like I don't really talk like what I'm like. I don't really talk strategically. Like I don't need to think about what I'm talking, but yeah, like it doesn't really eat up my energy that much. But yeah, like 12 hours is not that hard for me. But sometimes if you're not in the mood, it sometimes gets very hard. Like sometimes 4 hours is very hard for me. Like if I'm not like in the mood of like doing the sculpt, or if I'm not in the mood of talking, or if I'm not in the mood of like that specific work, and I have to suffer through it. Like, it's very hard. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, like, you don't really notice when you're in the zone, but like, if you start to notice if you're in the zone, then the zone fades out. Like, that's like, it's very weird. The concept of like zoning in and zoning out is very weird. Like, my friend was talking about his experience of doing some sketches, and when he was like doing the sketches, and like for a while, like he was like sketching for like 3 hours straight, and he came to a point where he could like basically do any drawing in an instant, and he had that kind of like flow. But after he noticed that like he's in the flow, it broke, and he can't go, like he wasn't able to go back to that flowing stage, and now he's like suffering from the lack of like flow, and like, and because he didn't like sketch for a while, like he had that kind of like flow broken, and he can't go back to that flow stage, and like like if I like for me, I totally understand what he's suffering from, and like I sometimes have that flow stage where I don't really need to think what I'm sculpting, but like I'm getting the shape done. But after I realize that I'm in that stage, I get a bit cocky, and then I break that flow, and then I lose myself from that, and like suddenly I'm suffering to go back to that flow stage. And it's very like frustrating when you're in that stage and you want that to happen, but you can't have that. Yeah, like I know professionals can do this in an instant, but for me, like, it takes a bit of time to actually get into flow. Usually it takes like 4 hours for me to actually get into flow, and then now I can do what I want to do. But like, some people have that kind of like flow stage in an instant. Like, I wonder how people do that. Do I need mathematics for sculpting? Do you think I'm a mathematician? I guess not. No is the answer. But like, that's a good question at the same time. Like, if you know that, if you know something that other people might not know, that's a weapon that you can use for your sculpt. Like, for example, I usually talk about this kind of like stuff when it comes to like plants or mechanics. Like, if you're more familiar with bikes than on the other person next to you, or the other person who's doing the sculpt or doing any like modeling, your bike is better, or physically, mechanically better than the other person who's doing the bike, who has no idea how the bike works. Or, for example, if the person who's making a flower or a rose, who doesn't have any idea of what kind of like rose they are making, or what kind of like plant they are looking at, they have no idea what the shape of the rose is. So you have a better understanding of that stuff is usually better. So if you have a better understanding of math, geometry, shapes, art theories, what, name anything. If you have a better understanding of anything, that's a better, like, that could be a good weapon for your artwork. So if you have a better understanding of like for me, for example, if I have a better understanding of Japanese culture, if I'm making a character from Japan or Japanese clothing, I have a better understanding, or I can use that as an advantage for me to research about Japanese culture or Japanese cloth, right? So anything could be an advantage. Like, yeah, like if you have a better understanding of math, that's good. Like you can if you can code, you can use that, like coding knowledge or algorithmic knowledge, to your advantage as well. So nothing is lost. So when it comes to artwork, like if you're wondering what kind of like knowledge would apply to artwork, everything would be the answer, I guess. If you know more about some like cultures, for example, and if you have a more understanding of like what kind of like animal there is, you can use that as your advantage. Anything could be as used as an advantage. So just keep that in mind, I guess. Also, like the opposite can be true as well. Like, I get usually asked if you can't draw, can't you do sculpting? And usually the answer would be, if you can't draw, you can do sculpting, but if you can draw, it's better. So, like, there's nothing stopping you from not drawing. So since anything could be your advantage, I think it's better to use anything to your advantage. So nothing would be nothing should stop you from like learning to draw, or learning about bikes, or learning about plants, learning about animals. Like, I think that's the hardest part of like making sculptures or making artwork. You have to constantly learn, or you need to be constantly interested in something, or you have to be willing to be interested in something. I think that's the qualification for an artist. Like, you can't be closed-minded and be a good artist. Like, you need to be open-minded as well to like gain new knowledge, to be willing to like expose yourself to new knowledge, new ideas that comes to you. Also, drawing is playing a role when it comes to sculpting. Yeah, like for example, if you have the basic understanding of drawing, or like artwork in general, you have a big advantage when it comes to sculpting. You understand the balance, you understand the ratios, you understand the curves, the big curves, middle curves, smaller curves, those kind of like stuff, like mid frequency, high frequency details, low frequency details. All those apply to sculpture as well. So those kind of like stuff is like not lost when it comes to sculpting. Also, like if you have traditional sculpting backgrounds, all of those tools are available to you as well. Like for example, I have a traditional sculpting background, and I used to have that kind of like Dremels, or I have to like I use some clay to like adjust the sculpting. And after I do the 3D printing, I usually use that knowledge or use that tool to adjust my stuff. So nothing is lost. I can't draw, but I was training posing by making gestures drawing. Yeah. Like for example, I'm sculpting hairs, but like I'm not a hairstylist. So if there's a person who has a better knowledge about like hairstyles or how the hair flows, she or he is better as a sculptor when it comes to hairs, right? So those kind of like knowledge, those kind of like things always apply to these kind of stuff. Yeah, like makeup tutorials, like I think you'll be surprised how much things you're gonna search in your browser, and like I think the advertisers will be really confused who you are because you're searching a lot of things. Like one day you're searching for a hairstyle, you're searching for a makeup tutorial, and one day you're searching for a rock, or someday you're searching for a book, or you're searching for some anatomy, and now you're searching for philosophy and stuff like that. Hello, hello. And now you're searching for bones to buy or something. Like it's very fun. But about math, I don't need it necessarily. Like I can learn to sculpt even without math. What do you need math for? Yeah, like in the old days of like 3D modeling, it was better for you to like learn about math or like have the understanding of math. But currently, unless you're a technical artist or a person who's doing things algorithmically, and if that's the job title, then yes. But unless that's the case, I think most of the people who aren't doing 3D sculpting or 3D artwork has no idea about like maths or like advanced knowledge of like algorithmic stuff. But if you have those understandings, like you can understand technical papers, or you can understand the like the process part of 3D, and you can use that as your advantage as well. Like for example, if you're into like animating, and if you have to like rig your characters, it's better to like have a basic understanding of math, because like you can control how the characters like arms are gonna move, or like how much angle the character's like arm is gonna move, or how it's gonna relate to the other bones and stuff like that. So if you have those understanding, yeah, you can use that as your advantage. But if you don't really have the understanding, unless like you're really against it or something, like you hate math from your guts, unless that's the case, like you can do most of the stuff. Daisuke, would you say your day-to-day work is testing new features for ZBrush? Well, I do a lot of things, like testing ZBrush is my work as well, talking to the customers, doing support, going to the studios to like visit their team to like ask what kind of like stuff they're doing, visiting well, all sort of stuff, like talking to like resellers about ZBrush, making tips and tutorials for ZBrush, answering questions on Discord and stuff, making the JP Sides website and like managing those things, making the translations for ZBrush, and making the other like translations other than Japanese for ZBrush as well. And on top of that, you have me testing ZBrush, finding bugs, reporting bugs. So all sort of stuff, I guess. And streaming as well. Like I'm doing the streaming and sculpting. So yeah. I guess master of none as well. Oh, I also talk Japanese and English, so. Oh boy. So yeah, if you start listing, or if I start listing things that I do for my work, it's gonna be a tons of like things in the list. Will there be a Ask ZBrush Daisuke version similar to Joseph's Dress? I don't know. Like I do my Ask ZBrush part in Japanese for Pixologic Japan. So if you search on YouTube, if you search Pixologic Japan, there is a Japanese version of Ask ZBrush, which I'm talking in Japanese, explaining what Joseph explained in the video, or Paul explained in the video in Japanese, basically. I've been busy doing other things, so I haven't updated the videos recently, but it's part of my job as well. Oh, hey, Spicer. Yes, it's a real deal. It's Spicer. Will Spicer be giving a raise? I don't know. I get raises every day. Okay. I don't know if I should start inserting flowers, I guess. Okay, so I want to make this as a IMM brush. So let me just create as an IMM. Oh, I don't need all these. So let's see, I just need to delete all these. Delete mesh, delete mesh, delete mesh. Oh, delete all of them, and I just need to create from mesh, and I just need to eliminate this. Okay, so let's see if I can insert this properly. I just need to remove the subdivision levels. Okay, and let's adjust the depth information. That looks fine, I guess. Getting something ready for print. Yeah, cool. I'm currently working on a new project related to 3D prints as well. I'm thinking about buying a new printer in the end. Well, I need to save up for that printer, but I'm planning to buy a Form 3, I guess. Huh. Well, depends on how you see it, but like I prefer to like pay for the guys who are pushing for innovations compared to like a company who will be making a cheaper version of something or without any like a huge evolutions. Like I think Form 3 is like thinking about like making a new way of like doing the prints compared to other companies, which is just like um, pushing the resolution or pushing the size of the print. Like, I know what you mean, but that's how I think. If everybody's like putting all the money into the same pocket, like I guess you're gonna make a monopoly, and like I prefer to um, spend money where other people don't put money, or other people put money, but like what I believe in, I guess. I know sometimes the resin price is a bit expensive, and the print size well, the printer itself might feel a bit expensive, but at least they are doing something new, which I can be, I would like to support, I guess. Form is expensive, but is more a professional machine than a hobbyist low cost. Yeah, that's one point as well. And like I have Form 2 over there, outside of the screen over there. Like I do have a couple of points where I'm not really happy about, but it does most of the job. Like I don't need to focus on um, how much exposure I need to put out, or how much resin I need to pour in, or something like that. I don't need to think about those kind of like stuff. I just need to like think about the sculpting aspect, and I just need to think about getting that print and then doing something out afterwards. I don't need to think about the printing part that much compared to the cheaper printers I know in the market. Oh, yeah, like before I was starting the stream, I noticed there was a Windows update coming up, and like I looked at the clock and thought to myself, I have 40 minutes to go, so I'm fine with the Windows update. And last time, well, not really last time, but like in the past, I was thinking that way, and I was prepping for the stream, and I thought I looked at the clock. I thought I had 1 hour, and then the Windows update was more than an hour. Yeah, at least give me a heads up when it's that kind of like a big update or a big change in your Windows system, I guess. Yeah, one time I had that pop up coming up about like Windows Update before the presentation, and I was like, nope. And while in mid presentation, well, it's not really related to Pixologic, but in my former company, and like I was doing some presentation, and that Windows update forced me to Windows update. So I had like 20 minutes without any like PC, and I've prepped my presentation around that. So yeah, so those kind of stuff happen. This one wasn't bad for me this time. It made me nervous though because it sat way too long at the preparing please do not shut down screen. Yeah. I remember Thomas saying that his Form 2 only misprint 2 times. Low cost will fail more event if they are still good printers. Honestly, my Form 2 is absorbing all the Thomas failed prints. So, I guess. My Form 2 is failing constantly, and I had a lot of issues, but now it's like running consistently, so I don't really have any issues. At least it's not 24 floppy disks. Yes. 24 CDs to back up your PC and stuff like that. I guess. But yeah, like for example, I had a couple of issues where a printer suddenly stopped printing, and in like there was no any way to actually do anything about it. Like I asked the support what was the issue, and they didn't really give me any like specific thing that I could try, and I just had to send the printer a couple of times to that company, and the reseller told me, oh, we need to swap your 3D swap your printer and stuff like that. And I swapped a couple of times, and it's a headache if you have to deal with those kind of stuff. Hey, welcome. I think I'm talking constantly, and I haven't really pushed myself to actually do something new on the stream. That's not a good one. Thanks. I kind of like have the habit of like putting colors before I actually do the sculpting, and like it's sometimes distracting too much. I should like just remove the colors and just go on with the sculpt. Oh, by the way, if you have a color like this, you can go onto the render palette and you can just use fade opacity, and then you can just adjust how much color would show up as well. Did you notice, guys? And if you go to up to 100, there's like pure material colors, and if you go to 0, there's polypaints, and like you can swap the materials as well. So you can use the slider to like you don't need to go into like the subtool menu to like disable the paints every single time, you can just go to the render setting and then just move that slider. It was added a while ago. I think it was the 2021 or 2021.5 update. It's the fade opacity. You can check the patch notes. It's a very handy feature. I think it's a bit underused. How to cut full sides? What do you mean? Cut full sides? I have accepted that I'll probably never know every feature that ZBrush has despite my tutorial fetish. Well, like learning new stuff and like using that knowledge to advantage is always good. You don't need to give up that stuff. I like pretty dress. Yeah, thanks. I like it too. Are you in Japan, Daisuke? Yes, it's 7:48 in Japan, in Kanagawa. Yes. Kanagawa is next to Tokyo, by the way. It's okay. Hey, I get too focused on the tool sometimes. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes some people are really focused on the features too much, and some people are not focused on features that much. And like you should be in the middle. somewhere in the middle. Like if you're spending too much time developing stuff and you're not sculpting, that's not healthy. But if you're spending too much sculpting and you're not learning the features enough to like make that sculpting efficient, then that's a problem. Like you have both sides of the spectrum. I know people who only use Dynamesh and are wasting so much sculpting time that they don't know about the features, and when I see those kind of like stuff, it makes me sad. Like yeah. There is people who are from Japan as well, like that. Like they call themselves Dynamesh gorillas. And they refuse to like learn new stuff about ZBrush, and they're spending so much time sculpting, but not in an efficient way. So I don't know. Like it's a bit sad. Like there's so much features I could teach that you can save time doing the sculpt, or doing the same thing, or doing it more cleanly as well. Like you're gonna get a better result compared to like dynameshing the whole thing and sculpting, versus like if you learn a basic about multi-resolutions, you're gonna have a better experience overall polishing stuff. My friend is that he recently switched to just Dynamesh and he just brute forces everything, but he is really fast and efficient. Yeah, there is a couple of like unique people who can do that. Like they have so much art skills that they don't need to learn any features. But at the same time, like if they could learn a couple of features, they can use that way better than me go like teaching like a lot of features or like teaching 100 features and stuff. Like if they can learn a couple of features, they'll be like flying like a rocket ship. Like for example, like I personally I personally know people who takes a screenshot. Well, they want to take a screenshot of their work, and they're taking a picture from a cell phone, well, basically a smartphone, and like uploading on Twitter. And like, man, some people need to know there's a screenshot button. But their artwork is like awesome. Like it makes me die inside, to be honest. Like they need to learn a couple of things so they can appeal their work better, and like those yeah, like honestly, yeah. And those people don't remember the features well. Like for example, I taught how to take screenshot. It's just one button, like print screen, just copy paste it, Photoshop, and then edit it. Like, or you can use the snip tool. Like if you press Windows key and if you press S, you have this kind of like feature called snipping tools. You can take screenshots and then cut them up, and then you can draw something on it. Like, how hard is this, right? Also, you can put timers as well. You can put timers, like you can just press new, and then you can do something like this, and then timer hits, and then you can just take a screenshot. Like, this is basic Windows feature, right? Like, nothing is like hard to do. Like, you can just press Windows key, press S, find the tool name called snipping tools, and then that's it. But those kind of like people just take like photos from their phones and then upload that on Twitter and say, done, my work is done. Like, most of the people who are doing that doesn't really have that kind of like good skills, basically, or good knowledge about how to use the PCs. But in some cases, you'll be surprised how many people are really good at their artwork, not knowing those kind of like stuff. I can give you examples. Like, I'm not gonna insult them, but like I can give you examples, like because their artwork is so good. but they don't know about like technical stuff. Like, it surprises me. Boomer energy, yes, but usually they're young. Like, I'm confused. Like, I know if it's like a actual like I'm sorry, but boomer doing those kind of stuff, it's understandable. But in Japan, like usually they're young, like around 30s or sometimes in 20s doing that stuff, and I'm like, what kind of like education you've been through? Like, really? Just take a screenshot, man. Hey, maybe too lazy to log on to Twitter to post with your PC, but you're running a PC! Yeah, like, those people make me mad, really. Some people, some I've seen that can't. Oh, Mac users. You can take a screenshot of Mac, you know. Yeah, like I've seen a couple of Mac users do that. To be honest, uh, like I'm sorry, but Mac users are not really tech savvy people. Well, this is looking very nice, Daisuke. Yeah, my AFK, but I'll be back in a while if you're still streaming. Thanks, thanks. See you on Discord if you missed me. Mac Gaming is where it at. Mac Gaming? What? I know there's people who are from Linux community talking about Linux gaming recently with the Steam Deck. I'm like, oh no. Honestly, I don't have anything about against Linux, but Linux gaming was a kind of a meme, to be honest, for a while. Like, there's a YouTuber just dedicated talking about Linux and gaming, and if your entire concept of a channel is just Linux and gaming, isn't that a meme? Like, for example, there is no Windows user who's gonna talk about how their Windows OS is greater as a YouTube concept or YouTube channel concept, right? But you have those kind of like people who are fanatic enough for a specific OS. And it's not just OS, like you have people who are just fanatic enough for just like a specific OS with a specific use case. Like, what I can do? What can I do about that? Like, do you have any tips you could give on cloth sculpting? Do you mostly start with a Dynamesh piece? yeah, like I just start with a Dynamesh piece, just start sculpting, and like, for example, just do some rough sculpting with clay buildup, and I usually stop doing clay buildup at the end of the cloth sculpt, because if you do clay buildup till the end, like it's too square, like it's too flat for a cloth. So what you would do is that you switch to standard brush and then start sculpting from there, and then smooth out the corners like this so it feels like a fold. It has a bit of like roundness to the surface, so it has that eye catch of the shadow. So clay buildup is really good for rough shapes, and dam stand is really nice for digging into the surface, but at the same time it has that like hard kind of like taste on the surface. So I usually just end up adding some like sculpts with standard brush at the end, so it has that roundness. Windows is the best. Yes, I agree. Honestly, I have a lot of like opinions about Windows, but honestly, I like Windows. Would you use the same concept for doing hairs as well? Depends on the hairstyle, I guess. But yeah, like you can apply the same thing. I know some people underestimate the underestimate the standard, how powerful the standard brush is, but like as you get good at sculpting, the standard brush is the way to go. Like it fills up so much the boring part of the sculpt, or it kind of like bridges between the detailed position and non-detailed parts. Like if you think your sculpt is boring, you can just use standard brush, to be honest. Like it does most of the job that you want without you noticing. But just make sure you have a lower intensity. Like if you have too much intensity, it's just a round shape. So if your sculpt feels a bit boring, just use a bit of like 7 or 8 intensity, and then just sculpt it casually like this. But for this to work, like you need to understand that you need to have the basic shape really clean as well. So if your blocking is not really done, or if your blocking is not really like good, like it's not gonna add anything. Like it's just gonna make a mess. Like I know dumb standard is powerful, but like some people use damn standard too much. Like, I don't think you want to use a damn standard on the face too much. Like, if you're like sculpting a mouth, if you're sculpting a fold, like eye fold here, stuff like that, is fine. But I sometimes see people doing like wrinkles of a forehead with damn standard, and like you can see it's a damn standard, and it's too strong as a fold. Like, you don't have that like like standard brush roundness to it, or like it doesn't feel like a skin, to be honest, like if it's damn standard. Like, I know you guys want to like sculpt Gordon Ramsay for some reason, and then Gordon Ramsay has an iconic like skin fold on the forehead, like because he's talking so angry. I know that's the case, but if it's too strong, it doesn't look like a forehead, or it doesn't look like a skin fold. It looks more like a mechanical crease or a cloth fold at that point. Like, it needs to have that tissue kind of like stuff. Tissue kind of like a feel to it. And usually, for example, if it's for a cloth, I usually just tweak the setting of a standard brush and then go to modifiers, then upscale the brush modifiers a bit, like for example 20. If I change the standard brush's brush modifiers, it makes that pinch. Yeah, Sculpt is raw. It's blue, it's pink. I know, yeah. Like, the first time I saw the concept of like Hell's Kitchen, I thought to myself, who's the audience for this? And I was very surprised. And I noticed, I saw it was a British TV show, and now I suddenly understood. Oh, it's for British people. Okay. And then you realize it's also for a US audience. And I was very surprised that a British chef is commenting on American food. I remember hearing that he's mainly like that for the US audience, and in British he's actually a lot nicer. Well, for a British audience, like British audience, well, British chef can take a criticism very like professionally, I guess. Well, for the US audience, I think it's more entertaining or more fun to like well, talk shit about your chef, and the chef can't take it. So, some chefs really take it really badly. So yeah, nothing like this in Japan. There is a couple of like food shows that are really harsh, but it's not really like that harsh. Like, it's not Hell's Kitchen harsh, right? But yeah, there is a couple of chefs that are known for a very hard critique in the food category. Well, it faded away, but it was popular for a while. Like, I remember Kawagoe Chef was very popular for as a food critic. Oh, render fade opacity. So one of the chefs was known for giving a hard critique about the food, and he has a blunt opinion about the food, which usually is not a Japanese characteristic. So the people who are getting that critique will thank him, and at the same time, if he's very rude to that person, you get a reaction for the cameras and stuff. Like, for example, there were the convenience stores, food designers or the chefs would come to the show and they get some critique, and like they present the product as a 8 stars, or how they are proud of that stuff, and that chef will say it's like two stars, or like 2 points or stuff like that, and then they'll get a bit upset, take that critique and do some like planning, and then change the food or change the recipe, come back again to the show, talk about their food, and then the chef will talk about, oh, it's better now, but it's like 6 points and stuff like that. And that's kind of like Japanese way of like entertainment for food. Well, those kind of like food critiques are like really nice in a way as a professional, compared to average customer in Japan for related to food. Average customer in Japan related to food is like Gordon Ramsay. Like 6%, 60% of Gordon Ramsay walking around everywhere, to be honest. Like, they'll talk shit about your food, they'll critique your food, they'll like critique your restaurants, write a bad review on your Google Maps review, stuff like that, but they are average Joe. So imagine that happening. So you don't need any professional critiques compared to the US or the British audience. Well, if it comes to food, average people are more harsher than the critiques. What can I say? If you're in the food industry, like you hear insane stories every day, and is there like daily job to handle those? And you're expected to like handle those very professionally as well. Like, it's crazy sometimes. But yeah, like as a professional, professional food critique, if you're mean to someone else, I think your professional life is short-lived, because like generosity, like being nice to others, not causing any issues are expected as your job trait in Japan. So you can't really talk shit about a person without causing any disturbance in Japan, to be honest. So unless you're known for that kind of like person and everybody expects you to have that personality, unless it's that person or unique, that kind of like unique person, or you're in a unique position, you're gonna get like judged easily. I guess it's like artist and critique art for other people. Yeah, like if you're talking shit about other people's artworks and you're an artist doing a mediocre art, for example, then your art life is gonna be short-lived. Oh, I know why. I have dynamic on. Okay. So I have 13 minutes to go. 13 minutes to go. Okay, so what I did was dynamesh the hairs so I can combine them. Usually, why I usually combine the hairs is that I don't want the lines to be very visible at the end. So what I would do is that I would combine them, smooth it out, eliminate those kind of like lines, and then make it smooth, but keeping that individual strand as much as possible. So for this, I usually use Sakaki's brushes to fill these kind of like gaps. So I have the SK clear fill, and I just need to enable backface masking and then sculpt it. Like, so this is after the filling, and this is before the filling, right? So you can see the difference is night and day. Like, left is less detailed, but it's more softer. Right is more detailed, but it has that hard edge. Sakaki usually uses this brush, or he has a method of like combining the hairs, but he doesn't come back from dynamesh. I guess it's because these areas are getting affected by the ZBrush, and it kind of like gives out some topology that he doesn't really like. But for me, like, I would just go back to ZBrush because it's topologically convenient for me. SK Smooth it's called? No, it's called SK Clay Fill. So it's filling the gap between the peaks and the valleys. And it's adding a bit of a smooth to it. So if you go to the data, it has smooth 2, and it's a clay brush. So it's essentially it's a clay brush doing this, but after the stroke it's adding a smooth to it. So it's doing this, but with less intensity, like 30. So it feels like it's filling the gaps, right? But for convenience sake, you can just download Socrates brushes and go to Escape Clayfill. Escape Clayfill is really nice, and like, for example, if I'm just filling these backside as well, it does the job very nicely. You use the elevation around as a guide. I don't think it's using the elevation as a guide, but it's like it's using the I asked him before, but it's just using clay brush with smoothing and then just tweaking a couple of settings to fit that. Like, for example, the difference between the clay and the SK Clayfill. Clay buildup, clay brush would have a pinching effect on the by the brush modifiers, so you want less of the pinching. And then, for example, if you go to the other settings, you see that the intensity is a bit less. So if you go to Z intensity and then adjust this to 10, like you can just replicate the effect like this. And then if you know how it's done, you can adjust the smooth brush, like for example, like 5, for example, and then get a stronger version of the smooth as well. Like this, right? And then if it's too strong, then you can just tilt and adjust it back, so you have the original. He was talking, Saki was talking about this on stream, how he found out the the clay brush with the smoothing would like remove that kind of like valley portion, but with a simple like setting. It's just a smooth with clay setting on top of it. Well, no, the clay brush with a smooth on top of it. So it's simple and elegant, to be honest. Like I like it. Hi Disky, how's it going? Fine. Had a bit of an earthquake today, but yeah, fine. As usual. When you do anime sculpt, do you normally leave the eyebrows and etc. separate meshes, or would you sometimes do it via polypaint? Depends. Like, I prefer to do it I prefer to have it separate because like if I feel that I need to change this slightly, I have the option to do it. Like if I want a better, like, stronger eyes like this, I can move it around so it fits the expression, right? But if I paint it, like, I can't do that. So if I already have a specific eye or specific facial expression in mind, then yeah, like I would paint it. But usually I just prefer to have it separate. And also, like, if you're gonna do the 3D printing aspect, you just need to like hide this at the end anyways, and then the actual result will be this. So it doesn't really matter. So if your end goal, usually my case is 3D printing, and it depends on your end goal, I guess. If it doesn't matter, like if it's just sculpting, casual sculpting, you can do whatever you want. For this project, like, I'm just like sculpting whatever. I'm not really sculpting it for 3D prints or anything. Casual sculpting. But it doesn't really make it like, it doesn't make it like the one way to go about it. Like, for example, Sakaki would disagree with his methods. Like, he would like to open up a UV and then texture paint it, for example, because he thinks that it's easier for him to edit with like moving the layers around and then adjusting it with the textures. Like I would prefer to have it separate, but he wants it as a texture, so depends. So he's keeping it as a texture because he doesn't really need to like change the geometry. And his way of working is really specific to 3D prints. So it really depends on like what stuff your end goal is, and like does it fit your workflow or does it fit your preference? For me, like, I wouldn't spend too much time on it. Like, I just want my sculpting to be done. I just want to have a bit of like a color to the eyes. If I know the facial expression, I'm fine with it. If I need to spend more time, I will spend more time, but usually 90% of the case, I'm not gonna use that eyes anyways at the end. Like, it's just a placeholder for the paint, for the actual like paint afterwards. Okay, so it's 8:30, so I think I would stop right here. Ouch, my back hurts. Ugh. So, just a reminder, the ZBrush Summit is coming up on 23rd. So if you haven't checked out the presenters, I would recommend you to check the presenters by going into the Summit page. And then if you haven't applied for the Sculpt Off, the deadline is coming soon. So if you want to participate and get a free prize, and if you want to win, I guess, you can check out the Sculpt Off page from here. So it's better to not print eyebrows. Yeah, so if you have a physical geometry when you're printing 3D models, it's going to be a distraction to your paint. So I usually take that out, but depends. Like if your art style fits the physical, like if it needs some physical emboss to fit that kind of like taste, then go ahead. But usually for anime characters, it's better to not have it and then paint it afterwards. I think I would put more roses or big roses around here, or flowers, I guess. There's no patterns, there's no complexity in the skirt right now. But yeah, that's, I guess, 2 hours of sculpting around adding details, adding a bit of like change on the hairs, adding a, what do you call those, pigtails at the end. Yeah, thanks for coming. Thanks for checking out the stream. Otsukare-sama. Thanks. Okay, so see you guys in the summit, I guess. So I'll be joining in the summit in the comment section. So I think you'll be seeing me a lot if you're in the summit. If you have any questions, just hit me up in the Discord. If you haven't joined the Discord, it's a time. I think it's a good time to join Discord. So if you check out the URL here, you can join the Discord. Okay. See you guys. Bye.